Once you know yourself, you can be yourself. And that is the secret to getting everything that you want. Let's go through 5 ways that you can actually get to know yourself. And also, I'm going to give you a couple of resources that I have used to get to know myself better. So many people who have said this, and here's one of them. The secret is being yourself. Oh, I just gave it away to him. Yes, Young Thug. So, the first way, get to know yourself as a human being. What I mean by this is that you are actually human. You might think you're a fairy, you might think you're a mermaid, whatever you think you are still a human. What do humans need to survive? What about humans makes us unique? What about humans makes us desire, reach our goals? What does it mean to have this experience on Earth? So, things that you can look into are biology, literally, what makes us a human being compared to an animal that's not conscious like us, or compared to a bacteria. We can change our environment, we can change what we do, we can change what we see. And so that is the beauty of knowing yourself as a human. In order to thrive, you know that you need to eat certain types of foods. When you don't understand this about yourself, you might be prone to just eating lots of fast food all the time because you don't even think about it. You don't think about health. You don't think about your body as a human. And on the topic of consumption, let's go to number 2, which is you are what you consume. What you consume consists not only of food, but the books that you read, the TV that you watch, the social media that you consume, the creators, the content that you consume. All these things are creating who you are. This kind of goes back to psychology. These things are entering into our brains. We're feeding this to our brains. And so that's what we are going to become. On the topic of who do I get to be, deciding who you get to be, this is a positive affirmations card deck. Now, when you're deciding who you get to be, who you want to be, who you see yourself to be, positive affirmations are scientifically backed to help rewire your brain. You know that what you consume, you become. So, consuming positive affirmations helps you to become the things that you are saying. Also, there's power in the tongue. Let's close our eyes and pick one to read together. I will link this in the description also so that you can go cop these from Amazon today because they are going to help you to become the person that you want. Here it is. I always feel chosen because I choose myself. I know my worth and so does everyone else. That one rhymes a little bit. Okay, bars. I always feel chosen because I choose myself. I know my worth and so does everyone else. The world is always interacting with us and showing us who we are. So I like how it ends with, and so does everyone else. I have been using them at night just to get my mind right, wind down, and project these amazing words out into the world and into my mind as I sleep, as my subconscious is doing its thing while I sleep. These affirmations are up in there helping to rewire my brain. And I also mentioned this in my 3 mental hacks video. I'll link that below. How your subconscious mind is open at night. It's also open in the rising when you first wake up. So when you first wake up and when you're about to go to sleep, it's good to do any inner work that deals with the subconscious mind. Another note on consumption is that we now have access to everyone's thoughts, everyone's seconds of the day, everything that anyone does all day. We see people doing, like, we see people brushing their teeth. You know what I'm saying? If we want that. And so when you're consuming things like this mindlessly or multiple people, it can create dissonance in your brain. It can create an identity crisis. You don't know who you are because you're looking at everyone else, and maybe you start to try to do what everyone else is doing and not be yourself, not do what you were meant to do. This book, How to Meet Yourself by Dr. Nicole LaPera, the holistic psychologist. I will link this in the description below so you can go get this from Amazon today because, hello, literally how to meet yourself. If you are someone who is having an identity crisis at any point, I don't care if you're going through a midlife crisis, your 40s and 50s, and you don't know yourself. I don't care if you're going to college, moving cities for the first time. It doesn't matter. This book is going to help you to reach who you are, to meet yourself, to discover who you actually are. And just to give you a sneak peek of what's inside, you can go as quickly as you want, but I visit it whenever I want. So there's journal prompts, there's scientific explanations about things, there's checklists that you can go over. Then I just kind of go through and fill it out and keep learning and learning and learning more and more and more about myself. And that leads us to number 3, which is to spend more time with yourself. This is really one of the only ways to truly actually know yourself is to get to spend time with yourself. So go and sit down somewhere. I literally did this the other day and I went on the swings and I was just swinging away and swinging away and swinging away. And it actually reminded me of when I was a child and how I used to stand up on the swings and then I used to jump off while I was swinging really high, trying to like fly through the air. It reminded me of who I was because it was like, oh, as a child, I was quite fearless. I would jump my little self and I was not afraid of the height that I was at. And I would be swinging, swinging, and I would make sure that I got high so that when I jumped off, I had a good way to go before landing. And I was not afraid. In fact, it gave me a thrill. There were children who wouldn't do that. There were children who were like watching me, like, what is she doing? She's crazy. And then there were some who were with me, like, who can go higher and jump off higher? So it's about knowing yourself. That reminded me that I'm a thrill seeker, that I am fearless. It made me think, okay, if those things are true, then any feelings of fear that I might have are conditioning because of psychology. Our brains are conditioned to think, feel, experience a certain way. And it reminded me that I need to go and seek thrills. I need to go and do these fearless things that make me feel alive. There are so many ways that you can go sit down somewhere. Go to the park, sit down somewhere. Go to the botanical garden, sit down somewhere. Sit on your floor, sit in your desk chair. Just sit and lean back and relax and get to know yourself. See what thoughts come into your head. Journal, meditate, fast, empty out anything that has been building up inside you. The clarity that you get is unmatched because there's nothing really inside. There's no food inside of you. So you're able to hear more clearly. We don't realize how much, as a people, as a human race, that food affects our brains in such a complicated way. And food can actually block us from knowing the right decisions to make because we are consuming, we're eating, and then it changes how we feel. And if we are able to change how we feel so quickly, the decision is kind of based on that feeling, based on feelings, which sometimes it's okay to make decisions based on feelings, but also letting your emotions get in the way is something, well, one, I have to work on, to be very honest, but it can block you from being consistent in whatever you want to do. And see, that's part of me knowing myself. I know, okay, when those emotions step in, sometimes I don't make the right decision. And so knowing that about me has helped me to go ahead and start working on that. Solitude and honestly quiet, being quiet. Take a vow of silence. Honestly, for one day, not saying a word for one day is going to be hard enough for most people today. Do things by yourself. Take a vow of silence for a day, and you will get to know yourself a lot better because you'll actually hear the thoughts that are going on in your brain. And it's like, oh, that's up in there. And I'm not even hearing it because I'm just going about my day. I'm just eating, doing all these things, maybe talking over the voices that I hear. But when you're silent and you can actually hear what's up in here, you're getting to know yourself better. Journaling and doing certain things in solitude unlocks a new level of vulnerability because you're able to share without any thoughts on how other people would judge you. You can write down anything, you can share anything with yourself because it's just you, and basically, well, you and God, and y'all already know. Getting to know yourself in community is good as well. But before that, get to know yourself in solitude so that you can be comfortable to take that next step when there are people out there who you trust enough to catch you and to hold you in those times where you're being super vulnerable. Spend time with yourself. Take yourself on a date. Go to the movies. Go out to eat. I remember when I first went out to eat by myself, making that decision was so nerve-wracking. And then I was like thinking all of these things like people who eat by themselves are weird. All these thoughts were going through my head. Then I went and ate by myself. Had a blast. For someone who hasn't done that and still thinks that it's hard or a hurdle, I totally understand that. And just do it. Just do the hard thing. And that leads us to our next point, to do hard things. Because when you do the hard things, you actually grow and then you get to be more of who you are. The more you know about yourself, the more that you can actually be yourself. Because if you don't know that you don't like, let me give you an example of how knowing myself helps me to be myself. In school, as in university, one of the hard things that I had to do was go on a set of a film, of a movie. So I went on this set as a production assistant. I was like, okay, I want to be a producer. Let me be a PA or production assistant. Most of the time, when you don't know yourself, there's a lot of question marks. Do I like this? Do I want this? So this was me taking one of those question marks, opening it, and then going to see what the actual answer to the question was. So the question was, is this something that I actually want to do? Spent the day on set, helped with the lighting, helped with the timing, helped with, cuts. And after, I was like, oh, this is definitely not for me. I don't want to do this. And so I realized that. And so for me, it was like, okay, now I need to know how else I can navigate this field of what I'm in and go a different route. So knowing that about myself, answering that question helps me be more myself. Because imagine I just kept going on that route without actually doing a hard thing for that particular question, which is actually just answering it. And I was just going and going, unsure, unsure. That's where identity crisis comes in. That's where it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. How did I even get here? It's because you never did the hard thing to answer the question of, do you actually want to do this? Is this actually something that you want? One hard thing that so many people struggle with is public speaking. The crazy thing about this is it is because of a discrepancy between who you think you are versus how other people view you. And in this particular situation where it's just you and you are presenting yourself to others as a public speaker, here's where you really get to know yourself because you really get to know what you actually think about yourself. When you want to think that you're a confident person, but maybe you're not, going into public speaking is going to help you get over that. because how you feel is how you think other people feel about you. So, the more confident you get with public speaking, the more you feel that other people actually view you as a confident person. So, public speaking is one way to really fast track that getting to know yourself and becoming more confident so that you can go and be the person who you want to be and who you truly are. The last thing that I have to say on knowing yourself so that you can be yourself is do not judge others. Do not judge others because one, you never know what anyone is going through. You never know what's going through someone's head. And so judging others is not for you to do. And another reason why you should not judge others is because God can put you in that situation quicker than you can say quick. And I know this because I've experienced it. It's like you might see a crackhead on the street, roaming the streets, and you're like judging them like, ew, they do crack. How could they do that? Why are they crackheads? And you never know. You might be judging them, and then God forbid, but you could somehow end up a crackhead. I'm sure crackheads never thought that they would be crackheads. Like, do you think crackheads really were like, oh, yeah, this is what I want to do? I want to be a crackhead. No, they probably were just normal people. Maybe they went through a loss. Maybe they were laced or drugged, and now they are crackheads. Don't judge others because you never know what they're going through, how they got there. And if it was you in that situation, you wouldn't want anyone judging you. You would want help. You would want love. That helps you know yourself so that you can be yourself. One, because you're judging others, you're either putting someone on a pedestal because you can do that by judging someone, judging how beautiful their life looks and how you want to be like them, which is actually taken away from your life. So that way, you're not actually getting to know yourself. You're not being yourself because you're consumed in someone else's life by judging how great it looks. And the other way, you're judging someone by putting yourself on a pedestal and putting them underneath you. And then that's just not knowing yourself. You're still putting energy toward that person when it could be going toward you. Knowing yourself and being yourself, it takes the acknowledgement of other people and knowing how great they are just like you. Because truthfully, we are all a collective, we are all one. And so when you know yourself, you can be yourself, and it is to actually know that others are just as great as you. Being yourself, it takes all of these things. Okay, and to review the points that I went over, I mentioned knowing yourself as a human being, what it actually means to be human, the basics, biology, psychology, all the science. And one thing I love about this, about being a human, is food. I'm so into gastronomy, which is basically the art of choosing good food and how culture aligns with that. That to me is one way that I get to know myself, by knowing how food affects us, how culture affects us, how food blends with culture, how cultures mix, like Korean fried chicken, how we have just all these things about us. And so knowing yourself, I will add to that point, get to know your ancestors, where they were from, know the countries that they came from, and all those things, all the history of how you got here, how you got to be yourself. Because that's actually huge in knowing yourself, huge in knowing yourself as a human. What are you even made of? You are what you consume. Do things by yourself. Do the hard things and practice public speaking. And don't judge others. Remember, the secret to success is being yourself. Stay golden.